Joy Zarine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. I'm excited because, well, you're a really good friend. We work together, but also you are in my, like, I do a lot of content. I do the podcast, and you are, in my mind, quite stealth, quite stealth in the business world. Like, you're doing some really amazing shit, but you don't shout about it. So I'm excited to tell the world more about you today and unpack what your business looks like and how you focus on the fun stuff. And I always start my podcast just asking for, like, tell me a bit more about your journey to where you are now. I'm definitely going to do that with you. I was just laughing before this podcast when I was doing my research on you. It's actually pretty hard to get the dirt on Joy prior to doing the podcast.
Yeah, so I don't spend a lot of time putting content out there about me. That's not something that really, makes my heart sing. So yeah, I am a little bit stealth, but come out of the shadows today. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Oh no, thank you for coming. And I should just, so I'll clarify that, Joy, you have a branding business. You do all of our branding at MyPA. It's fantastic. In fact, I was in a mastermind the other week and I delivered a presentation. And when it came up, somebody said to me, it was your presentation that you read. They were like, that is very MyPA. It was just like, they knew it immediately. So this is what Joy does. So she doesn't do content for herself, but she does a lot for other people of really fantastic assets. So Joy, tell us a bit of how you've got to this place of helping business owners.
Well, it's been a bit of a journey, and my journey so far does come in different stages. The stage I'm at the moment is I have a creative studio that I run with a global team of designers, and I work typically with founders, CEOs, MDs and leadership teams, and I work with them to unpack the value in their business and to really communicate that through valuable design assets. Mm-hmm. So that could be digital assets, it could be print assets, and ultimately my team and I create everything from branding to brochures to pitch decks to all sorts of things that ultimately bring our clients' business to life, that they communicate their value better, they attract more prospects, they win more business, they attract talent into their team. The assets that we develop for the clients really hopefully showcase the business better and put them in a better space. And so I've been doing this side of the business for around 4 years. But prior to that, lots of the content that people might find about me is that I was a hospitality consultant. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the earlier part of my career. I started a business probably nearly 20 years ago, working with bars, restaurants, pubs and hotels, doing some creative, but ultimately trying to work with clients to make them more attractive to guests, to hospitality guests. So working with everyone from small independent bars, restaurants, boutique nightclubs, right the way up to global hotel brands, and that was what I was really known for. Mm-hmm. I wrote a couple of books.
So this is actually, now I just remembered, this is when we met. So we did the Key Person of Influence program, which Daniel Priestley runs. This was like back in 2016, and at that point you were writing the 5-star formula. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely right. So that was 2017. The book came out, and that was a really kind of a time in my life that everything kind of shifted, everything kind of changed. I suddenly had kind of solidified my thinking and created these 5 steps that, became the 5-star formula, and went out into the world. And it was scary because I'm not the most confident at putting myself out there, as you know. But I did it, and I published the book. And from that point, from 2017, my world changed, because suddenly the book came out. I was invited to speak on stages. I was writing for a national hospitality magazine. I was being interviewed. I got invited to meet Gary Vaynerchuk. And for people that are fans of Gary V, that was like a huge kind of pinch me moment. That this is, this isn't me paying to meet him or queuing up for hours to try and get a photo with him.
Wasn't you paying VIP to
No,
get with him?
Didn't cost me a penny. And I was invited to meet him. And I actually thought I was going to be Skyping him. That's what I thought that invitation was about, because I remember that day I went onto his Snapchat and he was in Boston. And I thought, oh, I'm definitely not meeting him today. I've got that part wrong. But I'm guessing that we'll video chat and that will be cool. That's awesome. And then it turns out he actually posts everything out of sync, so that I guess for security reasons, and he just, creates content constantly and puts it out as and when. So he wasn't in Boston, he was in London, and I went to his offices, and I remember there being this like big kind of hocus pocus commotion outside the door, and I thought, is he actually here? And then he wandered in and I met him and all that good stuff. So the book kind of, I guess, put me out into the world, and I started to get emails from countries I'd never even heard of saying, we've bought your book and it's changed our business. And I kind of was like, oh, this is it. I've made it. Like, this is, I've hit the fast lane and life is good. And I'm able to work with more clients and charge more money and do more awesome things. And everything was on track for being awesome. And it was probably about 6 years of really refining what I did and who I did it for, and winning big clients and hopefully really adding value to those clients. It was probably about 6 years in the making. And then in March 2020, a 6-minute press conference with Boris Johnson, that imploded my business.
Yeah.
From that time, sitting there, we were declared going into lockdown, and from that moment, everything changed. That was the time where I realised very quickly, it was a humbling experience. I did not have all the answers.
Yeah.
I did not have it all figured out, and I wasn't the responsible business owner that I thought I was.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, I worked with a wide variety of clients, and I kind of thought, I've got it figured out. I'm working with small companies, I'm working with big companies, and even if there's a fluctuation in restaurant trade, I've got the nightclubs. And even if there's a fluctuation in nightclubs, I've got the bars or the hotels or anything else. And I kind of thought, I've got enough of diversity in my portfolio to go, everything's going to be okay. And within that press conference, like I say, my business imploded. There was nothing that I could do, because every client I worked with was not allowed to open their doors, not allowed to make a sale, not allowed to do all the things that they did that generated me income. So that was a life-shaking moment, because it wasn't even as if there was a really bad thing happening to me. Every person in my phone book had something catastrophic happening in their life, be it they couldn't see their parents who were, or they couldn't see their grandparents that were in a care home, or whatever it might be. I think everyone had challenges. So it wasn't even if I could have a real poor me moment, can everyone come and give me a hug? It was like everyone's dealing with their own stuff and everyone's having to put their head down and figure it out. And I don't tell this story very often, but I will share it with you today. But in that moment, I think I probably had about 7 days of going like, oh goodness, what am I going to do? And doing nothing wasn't ever going to be an option for me. And I remembered that I'd met a guy at a funeral a few years before, and I'd gotten really well with him, and he's quite a well-known, he owns a very large funeral directors in Southeast London where I live. And I remember joking with him and saying, oh, I'm going to come back to you for a job one day, because when I retire, I don't want to do nothing. And I've always thought I'd be a really good funeral director.
Have you?
Yeah. I've always thought, well, do you know what? Funeral director is a really important job. It's like running an event, which I've done for years, and you've got to be organised, you've got to be sympathetic, you've got to be able to make the sale, and you've got to be able to kind of do from start to finish. And I've always thought, oh, that would be a really cool job, and I'd be really, really good at it. And I always think funeral directors should have really ironic names. And with a name like Joy, I'm like, I could put the fun in funeral. Like, I've got this. This is...
You've sold me now. You should definitely open a funeral director.
Yeah, like, I've got this. Like, funerals of joy. Like, why wouldn't you? And I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm going to drop him an email. So I actually sent 2 emails. I sent one to him and I said, hi, Spencer, I hope you're well. We met a few years ago at a funeral. At the time, I was obviously doing XYZ and we've just entered lockdown and there's a global pandemic and I think you're about to be really busy and I'm not that busy. So if you need anyone on your team, give me a call. And I put my number and put my details and I sent it off. And I thought, every time I turn on the telly, they're telling me that, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. Funeral director might be a good place to start. And the second email I sent was to a woman who I had met at an event and we were... For your audience to understand, it was kind of like a Dragon's Den style event.
Yes.
So there was 50 entrepreneurs that stood up on stage and took 5 minutes to pitch their business. And from those 50 entrepreneurs, 10 were picked to go through to the final. And it was in a theatre with hundreds of people watching and there was kind of 5 dragons on stage and you had to stand up and pitch your business. And I went along, and as much as I am not the person that enjoys that sort of thing, I am the sort of person that goes, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to, really try and do well. And I got through to the final. And that day, sort of spending time with all those entrepreneurs, I actually really connected with someone. And although we were all kind of battling against each other, we got on really well. And, I wanted her to do well. She wanted me to do well. We both wanted to beat one another, but we did want to do well. And it turns out that we both came first in that competition. Wow. So we both got straight 10s across the board. There was 5 judges. We both got 5 10s and we came joint first. So that was the best outcome for both of us. But at the end of it, she said to me, it's been great spending the day with you and I've really enjoyed it. I'd love to work with you. You're awesome. And I remember saying to her, oh, thank you so much. That's really kind of you. I don't work with businesses that aren't in hospitality. And she was like, oh, okay, well, good luck, stay in touch. And in that moment in 2020, I remember having that conversation and going, maybe I do work with people that aren't in hospitality. Maybe that could change. So I sent her an email and I said, hi, I don't know if you remember me. We met at this event. You said to me at the time, if could we work together? My circumstances have changed. Please get in touch if there's anything, even if you haven't got budget right now. Because to be honest, I wanted to do something, even if it meant I wasn't going to get paid for it. So I kind of said, look, even if you haven't got budget, just if you've got a project I can work on, send it my way. And the interesting thing was, I'm not a woo-woo person. However, I never saw it. It went straight to my spam.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't know how it happened. My phone blocked his number. So he was calling me, the funeral director was calling me and emailing me and saying,
what the hell?
Saying, Joy, let's talk.
Hello?
Yes. Yeah. Like, I remember you. I have work for you. Come and answer the phones. I didn't see the email for 30 days. I didn't know my phone had blocked his number. And listen, someone up there was saying, it's a global pandemic, Joy. Now is not the time to become a funeral director. Not today. And so what happened was the lady that I'd been at that event with, she messaged me straight back. And she said, I remember you. Let's talk. And we jumped on a call. She said, I don't like my website, not a fan of my branding. Can you help? And I said, yes, absolutely. And the rest is kind of history. I began to work with her. She, in 2020, her name's Alison Warner. She's an incredible business coach. And in 2020, she won Business Coach of the Year. And she started to say, you're really good at this. And, if there's an opportunity to work with more people, you should do it. And I said, and I'd always kept myself back. And I'd always thought to myself, stay in your lane. You own that niche. You're the, the key person in that industry. That's what you're known for. How am I going to tell an estate agent how to run their business? Or how am I going to tell a financial planner how to run their business? I've never run that, but I've run bars and restaurants and pubs and hotels, and I've done all those things. So I was definitely telling myself a story that I needed to stay in that lane. And I started to work out of pure necessity. Yeah. I started to work with all these different businesses that were sent my way from different people. And life changed. My business changed. And eventually got out of lockdown and bars and restaurants and hotels all started to open up again. But I'd actually been given the gift of a new direction for my business, and I was really enjoying it. And I was working with great clients, and I loved the work that I was doing for them. And it was different to the work that I'd done before, and it was bigger and better. And, you know, we had more budget to do, you know, greater things. And that was awesome. And I remember you and I had known each other and we were friends and we would talk, and I would do my best to give you great advice for your business. But there was always a point where I would say, oh, but, you know, I don't work with businesses like Emma's, or I don't work with businesses like such and such. And actually, there was no reason that I couldn't, other than the fact I was telling myself that I couldn't. And I've ended up with a different business, one that I'm really proud of, and that one I can see will continue to change, will continue to evolve, and that I will continue to enjoy. And that's, for me, really powerful, really, really exciting, because we can hold ourselves back.
Oh my gosh, so much.
And we don't have to.
Yeah. And even just the 2 emails you sent, like, just, I feel like a lot of business owners just don't ask. Do you know, like, they just don't make the move to, you know, for every 10 emails you sent, you might get 9 blocked in the spam and just 1 comes back. But just that in itself, it can open up so much opportunity, can't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's lockdown and you're more motivated to what am I going to do, or just on a weekly basis, what can I ask? Like, who can I, do you know, like, what bold move can I make as well?
What if? Be curious. Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot to say, and sometimes, especially if we've had some success, we put ourselves in this bracket of, I don't want to look stupid.
Yes.
We don't want to to sort of ask a question, ask a favour, act like we don't know the answer. But actually, if you approach things with curiosity and go, oh, do you know what? I don't know the answer. Maybe they don't want to work with me. Maybe I can't help their business. But actually, if you're curious enough to say, can we have a coffee? I think a lot of times what we do as entrepreneurs is we tell ourselves stories.
Yes.
And I am a great storyteller. I am great at telling myself that I can't do something because. And actually, when I reframe that and go, well, maybe let's go out and get 10 no's and then move on with my day. Yeah. And actually, if you go out and have 10 conversations with the pure intention to be told no 10 times, magic can really happen. I'm definitely on the firm with saying, well, let me have a coffee with this person. Let me get the no, and then I'll move on with my day. And that can be absolutely game-changing, because people want to work with people that care. Yes. People want to work with people that have great ideas, that have great solutions to their problems. And so if you get really curious about finding out what problems people are facing, finding out, you know, what challenges their week happening in their business, what's happening in their week, finding that out, and then understanding, okay, I understand that problem. Your salespeople aren't making enough sales. Yeah, I understand that. What tools are they using? Can I see one of them pitch? Can I understand what presentation they're using? Oh yeah. Actually, it's not very good. We did this, like we had a work experience student 10 years ago put this together. And I go, okay, so if you've got 10 salespeople and they're working with a deck that the work experience kid did 10 years ago, what would it mean? Like what are their stats at the moment? And they said, well, they probably win 2 pitches out of 10. What would it do to your business if they started to win 8 pitches out of 10? Well, it would transform everything. Life would become better. Oh, okay, cool. Shall we work on that? And actually, when you understand the problem that they're facing, and that I can be the solution in going, okay, cool, I'm not in your business. I don't know a lot about your business, but I can watch your pitch. I can understand what you're trying to do. I can help you improve that. I can build assets that support that pitch, that get people in the room excited about what you have to offer. And I can get you more yeses than you're getting. Actually, those conversations get pretty exciting pretty quickly. And if I go out into the world and have those conversations with business leaders about the challenges that they're facing, and I can be the solution to go, oh, I can do you a better pitch. I can do you a better brochure. One of the clients I work with, they said, do you know what? In the room, our guys are really good. and they get a yes in the room. But when it comes to sending the contract over, they then get the no, because the powers that be, the people who are above them, put a stop to it. And the interesting thing is, I go, oh, okay, cool. So there's a second audience that is deciding on what's happening. And they go, yeah. And I said, oh, well, we need to build assets for the second audience. If you're getting the energy that's good in the room, what we need to do is get the second audience over the line. So what do we need to do to support that? Do we need to record a video? Do we need to record a presentation that is 8 minutes of pure magic that they can click on, and that decision maker can go, oh, okay, I get this.
Yeah.
Because what tends to happen is when I work with businesses, their salespeople are really good at getting the people in the room excited, but those people then do a really bad job of relaying the information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what I tend to do is go, okay, cool, let's work out how we can improve that process. In the room, let's make that bit better, but then outside the room, the second audience, the presentation that's pre-recorded, or the brochure that really gets people to understand what my client does, and why that matters.
Yeah.
And get people to that positive place. Yeah. That's the bit that changes the game.
Well, I can speak from experience that you've done the same with me, as we've talked about challenges that I'm facing. And because when I introduce you as like you have your own branding business, I think people might think about brochures and printed things and exhibitions. And whilst you do all of those things as well, like, and this is not about a sales pitch for you, it's just about how you're helping business owners, because it's actually understanding the problems that they're facing, isn't it? And I know that you work with clients quite closely, don't you? So you do get a thorough understanding of where they're at. And I was going to ask you, like, with the business owners that you're working with now, is there any commonalities of things where you see? So this podcast is about focusing on the fun stuff. Are they, that they don't have the people to do the solutions, or they're just getting involved in everything? Or is there common things that are coming up?
The common things that I see is that what typically happens is the visionary, the founder, the CEO is a really good fire starter. So in the words of the prodigy, they're the fire starter. They're the people that get people involved, and they get people on board, and they get everything moving. And then the team starts to grow, and then they become less of the fire starter and more of the firefighter.
Yeah.
And they're going around trying to solve problems and trying to pull people in line and stop people from arguing and stop people from falling out with one another, stop people from CCing in people, and, when things get tough. And that's what their day becomes consumed with. And actually what I want to do is work with them and understand, okay, let's start from the top. What are we doing here? What business do we want to get to? What does 3 years look like? What does 1 year look like? What does 6 months success look like? And then what do we need to make that happen? Well, if we need to get more talent into the team, let's look at the assets that we've got in the business that's attracting talent. That could be a landing page. That could be a scorecard. That could be a really good onboarding pack. Yeah. That, whatever that looks like. If talent acquisition is the problem, let's build some assets that attract better talent. If winning prospects or converting prospects is the challenge, let's look at that. So depending on where they're at, we want to take them away from firefighting and getting them back into the fire starting mode of going, let's move mountains, let's get you back into your good place. And that's what the work that I do. I want to understand what success looks like. My successful week is probably incredibly different to your successful week. And that's absolutely fine. I'm very comfortable with what a win looks like to me, but I'm very respectful of what a win looks like to my clients. What matters to them, and then let's reverse engineer it. Let's make that a reality. If I say to you, let's book a table at the Ritz 1 year from today, we're going to book it this afternoon. What should we celebrate when we get there? And you can then turn around and say, well, in 12 months' time, I would really like to have done this, and I really want to have achieved that, and I wanted to hit this and in sales and whatever that looks like. And it's like, okay, cool. Let's book that table and let's make that happen. Let's spend the 12 months from now until then building up to that surprise celebration to go, we've made it. Yeah. We've done it. And that's what really matters to me. It tends to be in my business far less transactional. If someone wants to hire me to design their business card and that's it, that is not going to set my life alight. That is not going to have me bouncing out of bed in the morning. But if you turn around to me and say, we want to go global, or we want to win this award, or we want to be known for X, Y, Z, I'm like, oh, yeah, let's do that. My success has always been attached to my client's success.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that that's what, within my circle of clients, is what I'm known for.
Yeah.
I get invited to the Christmas parties. I am fully trusted in their, circle to share the good times, share the bad times. This is what's happening. These are the challenges, because I'm in it for the long haul. It's not about one presentation or one pitch that's going to change. It's like, no, let's keep going. Let's keep evolving. Let's keep adding. Let's keep, because I would much rather be involved deeply with 10 clients than, half working with 1,000.
Yes.
That's not what brings me to life.
And I think that is one thing you do very well, in that you constantly review what is focusing on the fun stuff for Joy. And I remember when we first started working together, properly, kind of you are a part of my PA, you do all of our branding, you do lots of things in my PA. I remember when we first started working together and you said, I want to celebrate on the boat in 10 years' time. Yes. We're all on the boat with champagne, but what does that look like in 10 years? And we've had some very frank conversations where you've been giving me great advice about where I want to go with my business, and you've been quite frank in that your business and what you want, you would hate to have a massive team, the kind of business that I've got, it just doesn't sit with you in any way, shape or form. And I think just so far on my podcast, I haven't really interviewed anybody yet that is so clear and on that the non-bricks and mortar business isn't really for them. They want but you're very clear on what you want, and you kind of, as you would say, reverse engineer back from that. Yeah. And so just in terms of your business, Joy, what does make you focus on the fun stuff? What does it look like, your business, and how have you worked back from that reverse engineering part?
So there's a number of ways I could answer this. Firstly, I love to work with people who are passionate about what they do. So my clients are really passionate about they've started companies, they're going places, and so that makes me excited. I want to be around that kind of energy of going, I thought of something, I'm making it happen, let's go. And I'm like, let's go, we're off. And when it comes to my team, I love to work with people who are really passionate about the work that they do. Now, typically, they tend to be people that don't want to go out and win work. They want to do the work. Right, okay. So they might not be the most sociable or confident. They don't want to spend their time having coffees with clients. Yeah, I do. I'm good with that. Leave that with me. They want to focus on their work. They want to, some of them, they want to be the person that picks their kids up from school, drops their kids off at school and picks them up every day. I empower that to happen. I'm like, if you give me 4 solid hours of great work in the middle of the day, go pick up your kids, no problem, if that's what matters to you. So I really try and unpack what success and what a great week looks like for my team and for my clients. It's a people project, and then try and serve them. And I'm not going to be the right boss for everyone. No, I have great aspects of how I work, but it's not going to be for everyone. I am not the person that's going to have fancy offices and, take everyone out to somewhere swanky for Christmas, parties and stuff like that. But I have a very holistic approach where the work that we do matters, and I'm very, very insistent on that. I think sometimes when it comes to running your business, the wheels start to come off, I think, when you start to go, maybe I'm not going to change the world, and maybe I'm not very happy about that. And because we probably all started off, in our early 20s going, I'm going to change the world. And I definitely thought I was going to be the next Alan Sugar or Richard Branson or Karen Brady. And these were all people, I read their books when I was at college. And I really was like, this is the direction I want to go on. I want to change the world. And as I've got older, my perspective on that dream has changed. And I can see for some people, there's a lot of frustration and almost they feel like they failed in the business they've built because they're like, there's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of stress, I'm not really living my best life, and I'm not really changing the world. I reframe it in a different way insofar as I say, you might not be changing the world with the work that you do, but you're probably changing someone's world. And I'm so here for that.
Oh, I love that.
That is the part of my work that makes me really excited. I work with loads of different professional services businesses, and some are mortgage advisors and some are pensions and benefits consultants. And actually, they might not be changing the world, but they're changing someone's world. If you're a pensions and benefits consultant and you're empowering someone who is 30 years down the line going to retire with a pension pot they can live a great life on, actually you are changing someone's world.
Yeah.
That work really matters. And if you're a mortgage broker and you're going to empower people to live in a safe, happy home that, you know, they're really proud of and that their kids are close by to a great school or whatever that looks like, you might not be changing the world, but you're changing someone's world. And I'm like, when we reframe that, that gives me and my team massive excitement and impetus to say, we're doing work that matters. And I'm really on board with that. That brings me to life.
And would you say that is overarching? Like, is that your main driver? So when you kind of reverse engineer backwards, is it kind of, well, I want to earn this first and that equates to this kind of number of clients, or like, this is what I want I was talking, Daniel Priestley was first this morning on this Today recording. He was talking about what a happy week looks like for him. And that's actually more important now than the amount of money he's earning, though it's also important. Like, what, you know, in terms of what a fun business looks like for you.
Yeah, so money is very important. And I think it's always good to have enough money to spend and enough money to lend and enough money to kind of invest and enough money to live your best. Like, that's like all, like, that's
the best rhyme ever.
That's like really important to me. But the one thing that's more important than money is time, because I can make more money. I can't make more time. You and I are of similar age. We've probably got, in 50 years' time, let's just do easy numbers. In 50 years' time, we'll be into our 90s, hopefully. And our worlds will probably be incredibly small. We'll probably have a handful of friends and a handful of family members. And, you know, and then 50 years from then, we will be distant memories, probably not even existing in the memory. So what's really important is to spend good time now, to understand that, you know, our lives on earth are relatively short, but a miserable life will feel incredibly long. I don't know if you ever did a horrible job when you were a kid. I definitely did. I worked in a jeweller's, and it was wonderful in some ways, insofar as I would wear very expensive jewellery and sell very expensive jewellery, which was very nice. However, I earned about £4 an hour, so I do question my motivation at the time of what was I thinking, because I was selling thousands of pounds worth of jewellery. But I remember in that jeweller's, there was a massive clock, and I remember I would watch it and it would go so slowly. And I remember thinking, it's going to be a really long life if I don't do something I love. And that is really powerful to remember when you're stuck in a business that you're not enjoying. What you're doing with your mission to focus on the fun stuff and to win the week is actually so important, because what people end up doing, in the same way as I was stuck in my business, because I kind of thought, well, I've come this far and I'm known as the hospitality person and I've written the book and I'm known for that. Tearing that up and starting again wasn't an option until I was forced into it being an option. And actually we get quite stuck on, we've come this far, let's keep going. And time is not, you know, on our side. So I guess my important message for people out there that are perhaps stuck in a business that isn't serving them is to really evaluate how much longer you want to keep doing what you're doing if it doesn't serve you. And people then say to me, when I have that conversation, I'm like, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right? Know when to walk away. And it's really, really hard to do. And I don't expect people just to rip up their business and start again. But I would definitely say to people, if you're in a business that's not serving you, you need to be really honest with yourself and say, okay, what will serve me? What do I want my business to look like? And can I look at my business on the 80-20 principle? If I spend 80% of my time still doing what I'm doing, still running that business, but I spent 20% of my time getting curious and going, maybe I could do something different, or maybe I could use my core skills with a different industry, serving a different people, or working with people in a different way. What does your week look like then? Prove yourself that 20% isn't important. Get curious.
Yeah.
And what does that look in reality? Spend Fridays doing something different.
Yeah. And I can personally vouch for that, because we've had that conversation around what we call between us the Emma brand, with the podcast, with the book that I should write at some point in the future that I know you've talked to me about loads. But just like we've had that conversation around about just spending Fridays on creating the content, like just dreaming about what can this lead to, what can it become. It's a really interesting reframe when you say, either 2 hours a day, I'm going to do something different, or 1 day a week, I'm going to do something different. And leaning into it and saying, perhaps I could go down a different avenue. Perhaps that could be right for me. And see how that feels. Get curious. Even if you spend 20 hours getting curious on that, and go, actually, do you know what? I don't want to be I don't know, business coach or candle maker or I don't know, whatever it is, yoga instructor. The world probably doesn't need more yoga instructors. So I will put that out there. But there's definitely an argument for saying, just because I've built this business that I'm running, it doesn't mean I have to live and die with this business for the next 50 years. I definitely intend my business to evolve and change and grow. I definitely want new things to focus on and new things to be attractive, like work with new clients, give more different products, different services, do different things, continue to evolve, because I've seen and experienced how good life can get when you do pick up a different path and go on it. Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of people listening to that need to hear it. And I think there is so much time in the week that crafting out, whether it's 20% of the time, 2 hours, actually is like, you can just carve back something else that, whether it's Netflix or whether it's just an hour earlier, just to actually investigate what that looks like, has been really helpful for me as well, just in terms of the podcast and getting other stuff done.
Well, we tend to tell ourselves we have incredibly busy lives, right? We are drowning in emails, we are being bashed constantly with notifications on our phone, all that sort of thing. If you want to get curious and you want to try your hand at a different path, doing something different, writing the book, whatever it might be, unsubscribing from Netflix is a really good way of giving yourself 10 hours a week. It's a really quick win. When I wrote my book, the first book in particular, I unplugged my television Monday to Friday.
Really?
Yeah, I needed that focus. I needed that time. My Spotify playlist, wrapped, of 2016 or 2017, whatever year it was I wrote the book, was my top 10 was all classical music.
Really?
I looked really uncool because that's what I would listen to and write with, like this 20 best classical music, which is not actually my bag, but it enabled me to get it done, and that was the focus. So yeah, we are incredibly busy, and listen, people have children and family responsibilities and all these different things, and I don't want to come across and say, well, it's easy for me, I don't have those responsibilities, but I would be surprised if you can't carve out a few hours to win the week and to make a difference in your future. And if you try something for 20 hours or try something for a month and it's not for you, cool, go again. Definitely, I would say it's great to get curious and fail fast. I'm definitely of that opinion. I want to try things, products, services, launch things, get 10 coffees with people, get 10 no's, and get curious and be really comfortable with someone saying, I wouldn't pay for that. And I'm like, cool, let's cool. I'm like very open to that. Every time I've been told a no, or life has handed me some form of rejection, it's ended up being quite an exciting redirection. It's interesting when I worked with a client probably, we worked together for a few years, and a year ago they sat me down and they said, we've been bought by a company. And that was the ultimate kind of the aim of what we were trying to achieve. And it was a slight, flaw in my plan insofar as they had been snapped up and we were no longer going to work together. So that was a bit of a challenge to face. But in that moment and what always tends to happen is that moment of rejection when someone says, we can't work together anymore, I actually get really excited. That moment tends to mean that rejection, I'm heading for a redirection. And any time in my life that's ever happened, even when it's someone that you've I don't know, been let go from a job, or you've been dumped by a boyfriend, or whatever it might be, actually when you look back and you go, that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And when I have that conversation with that client, they said, look, it's been amazing, and what you've done for us is amazing, and we're so sad that this is the end of our journey. I kind of thought to myself, it's time to get ready because something really big is about to happen. Like, I definitely say to myself, it's time to level up, or, there's a redirection around the corner. I need to get ready. And because that's what happens. Every time I look back at any time in my life where I'm like, I didn't want that to end. And then I look back and I'm going, thank goodness that ended. I remember in my 20s, I was working, when I first started my first agency, and I was working with a group that owned several bars. And I launched this agency and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was kind of saying yes to everything. And cut a long story short, they turned around to me and said, we've actually decided to work with a different agency. And I couldn't believe it. I was so shocked. And I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't in the plans. And I bumped into one of them recently, and they're still doing the same thing, and I'm still cheering them on. But I'm so glad I'm not doing what I was doing. That rejection in that moment really hurt, but it actually spurred me on to go down a different avenue, work with different clients, explore different services, different opportunities to write the book. I probably wouldn't have done any of those things had I continued to work with them, because life was good. Life was easy. I was earning money. I was doing work. It was, I was moving forward. But actually, that moment of rejection put me onto a whole new journey. I get very excited in that moment of when things don't work out. I'm like, ooh, life's about to get exciting. Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
and in my life, you are one of the people I do think gives really great advice. And I remember in the summer you gave me that piece of advice that rejection is redirection. And I think people can get so hung up on their business. It's their baby. This is what I've always known. It defines me. But actually just approaching it from things are going to happen, things are going to change. It would be stupid to think otherwise, and just embracing the journey.
Look, I'm not the same 20-year-old that started an agency. My week looks different. My weekend looks different. When I was in my 20s and I started an agency and I won a contract with working with nightclubs, I just thought, that's awesome. I can get me and my friends in for free. We'll be in the VIP area, popping bottles. Awesome. And that was a motivator for me. I don't want to work with nightclubs anymore. I don't want to be in the club at 3 a.m. I will be old enough to be everyone's mum. That's not the vibe I want to be at.
Well, it made me laugh in COVID. You bought a nightclub, didn't you?
Yeah,
with your business partner, and you were like, I'm not going. I don't want to go there.
That's not the life I want. And I would be very foolish to say the business that I have now in my 40s is going to look identical in 15 years' time. Yeah. We should all lean into the fact that we are in a very fast-changing world, where 3 years ago, you and I would have been incredibly impressed if we met someone at an event that said, I have designed an AI bot that does customer service. What? Wow. Now, if you heard that, you'd go,
another one.
Great. Next. So that's how fast our lives are moving, right? What would have impressed us and knocked our socks off 3 years ago actually would probably get a bit of an eye roll now, because it's not the new thing. So I'm very open to the fact that let's keep things moving. Let's keep checking in with ourselves. Let's keep checking in with the clients that we're working with. Let's understand, how do we make sure that there's good things happening in our day, good things happening in our week, things that we're really proud of, that we're attracting the right people into our business, that we're keeping hold of the right people. I had a conversation the other day with someone, and they were considering bringing in a new person onto their team. And lots of business owners will understand this frustration because the team members that they've got are great people, but they no longer have the skills that the next level of the business really needs. And we unpacked it, and I just asked a load of questions, and I said, okay, cool. So you want to bring someone in that's got this experience, and you're going to pay them this much money, and what is that going to look like? They're going to need at least a 12-week, period where they prove themselves to you. So let's find 3 months' wages. So let's just do easy numbers, 10 grand. Right? For someone good, it could be 20 grand, but let's just do easy numbers, 10 grand to pay that person's wages for 3 months to prove themselves. Then we also need to pay for the agency, the recruitment, let's call that 5 grand. And then if you're the business owner, we've also got to understand that your time is valuable. You're going to read 12 resumes, and you're going to interview 5 candidates, and you're going to do second round interviews with another 3 candidates, and you're going to finally employ someone. So that journey of that, probably a 6-month process, is going to cost you 20 grand. Fair to say? Mm-hmm. And I asked them, when was the last time you spent 10 grand developing your team members that you're so frustrated with? And they said, oh, we haven't. And I said, okay, cool. You've got some really good humans on your team that really understand your mission, that really get your vision.
Yeah.
They're really on board. They've bought a ticket, and they are on this journey.
Bus, yeah.
They're on the bus with you. They are on the journey. And I said, how much have you spent on your own personal development? Plenty of money. Let's just put it that way. Lots of money. They've probably spent under £100 on their team members. The odd Udemy course, or the odd £29, 3 video course that they'd spent. And I said, well, you're about to spend 20 grand getting a top person into your business that might not actually be a top person. They might be a B player or a C player, but they talk a really good A game. Should we unpack the idea of how we could develop your team members? Yeah. And in that moment, they went, I have been looking at my team all wrong. Yeah. Because the thing is, do you know what? We have to work on the machine of our business. Good people will do a good job in a great business. And that's the thing. Average people in an average business will do a terrible job. Good people in an average business won't do a great job. Mm-hmm. We have to build a great business. And that's empowering our team, training our team, developing our team, giving them leadership skills, giving them the tools that they need, giving them great assets, right? That give them great pitch decks and give them great presenting skills, and do all of that kind of thing to bring them up to what our business needs. So sometimes it's just, you can throw money at a situation, and actually the wrong person in your business will cost you far more than £20,000.
Totally.
You could upset your entire team. You could lose those really great humans. Because the thing is, finding a great human is actually quite difficult. Mm-hmm. Upskilling a great human is actually quite easy.
Yeah, so true.
Because the attitude that people come to work with is actually what's the important bit. I think my clients keep me around because I'd like to think I bring a great attitude to the table. Yeah. Might not be the best at something, or the highly skilled, or have the most experience in the work that they do, but I'll come with a great attitude, and I'll come with a great curiosity to go, how can we make this better? Yeah. How can we deliver what you want to deliver? How can we make that happen?
Which I totally vouch for. And I do think, Joy, and from knowing you from 2016 now, I do think that you are constantly looking at what focusing on the fun stuff is for you. You're hyper aware of it. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for business owners, just actually being discerning on what they're spending their time on. Remember, we were on the ski trip, or I think it was, and you said to me, this year I want it to be about big meetings.
Yeah.
If I'm going to a meeting, I want it to be about a good partnership, somebody I want to work like.
Yeah, let's make waves.
Yeah, you're not here for the 10 coffees a day just to churn
Yeah.
through. It's like you're very, very discerning about who you spend your time with, how you spend it, what you do in it. And
do you know what my superpower is, if we're talking about that subject, is to know when something's not for me.
Yeah.
So I am very open about the fact I don't cook. That is not for me. I have lovely 7 meals delivered to my door.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's how I want to live my life. And I don't pick out the clothes that I wear on stage or to interviews. I have a great person who's really into fashion, and I'd rather pay them money than to spend a day wandering around Bluewater aimlessly. That's not for me.
No.
So I am hyper aware of what's not for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a superpower. When you turn around and say, I'm not great at cooking, I'm not great at shopping, but I am great at making great waves in a boardroom to understand what people are trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I'm better spending my time doing
Totally.
that than fussing and fighting and, you know, fluffing my way through trying to get the rest of the stuff done. Let me work on what I'm really good at, earning that money, and then let me spread that wealth into the world and get people to help me in the areas that I'm not great at.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to outsource stuff I'm not good at. And I think business owners, for some reason, they feel like they have to struggle and do everything and wear every hat. Listen, you hire an accountant because you don't want to do that. Hire a stylist to pick out your clothes, or, you know, hire a chef to cook your food, or hire a driver to take you places so you can have great conversations on the phone, you know, from the back of the car. Like, that's just for me, a better way to get things done. So know what's not for you. That's my superpower.
I love it. Joy, you've been awesome. I knew you would be. We've run out of time, unfortunately. I could carry on forever with you, but if
part 2 coming soon.
Yeah, part 2 in 2025. If people want to find you, where is the best place to
you can find me on social media. I don't update it very often. I'm in the shadows, but I'm Joy Zarine, JoyZarine, and you can head to joyzarine.com and find out more about me there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you. It's been great.